Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of the Cadre Concept. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, here with your host, Shane McGraw.
What's up, Chris?
Hello. What's up, Shane? What's up?
What's happening?
You remember that? You remember that? What's up?
That was a good one. They had a good run there. You can't have my Bud Light.
Those are the good old days, man. Yeah. Love it. Listen, let's talk. There's a lot going on for you. I love it. And I love that we get to kind of be a fly in the wall here, picking your brain about it all. So there's a lot going on. That's what we're talking about today. How do we get it all done, right? Like how do we get it all done? Especially when you're a visionary and like you want to show up big in life, which is, I think that's your audience, right? Your audience has big vision. They want to show up big in life. But I think a lot of times, and you tell me if this is true, I think a lot of times, and I know this for me, we'll hedge. Like we won't go all in because we start feeling out of control and all of a sudden we pull back instead of leaning in, you know?
Yeah. There's fear and there's pride, right? And you always get a chance to brush up against the barriers of those two things and recognize. We were talking a while back about triggers, where you run into the pride trigger where you can tell you're making this inward about yourself and it's actually not about you. So it's easy to think it is and lose sight of that. And you got to have a good trigger for reminding yourself it's not. And then the fear side is oftentimes growth comes at the sacrifice of comfort, because you have to be a little bit on the side of, I think all the time, if your muscles don't hurt because you're feeling like you're pushing yourself further than you have, then you're probably letting your fear, slow you down. You're not getting the most out of your day. And as a leader, which this podcast in its purest form is a leadership podcast. It's the Cadre Concept is first, can you lead yourself? And then can you work in harmony with others, aiding them and walking aside of them and serving them? Because, true leadership really is you recognizing that your role is to serve others. That's what true leadership is. And, the guy who serves the most people will never be lonely. That guy will always have people that are in his corner. So the Cadre Concept at its purest form is a leadership podcast. I mean, you have to lead yourself to lead others. But then there's this problem when you're a leader, right? It gets heavy. Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility. Like me, I'm a visionary. I'm a person who's, I see land in the distance, and I chart a course, and I say, it's going to take all of us, and we may run out of food before we get there, and we're going to be tired. It's going to take, we're going to be working around the clock. I put out a vision, and it'll get us there. Yeah. But there's going to be a time inside of that course where it's going to push us to the point where the collective is the wheels are going to start wobbling a little bit, and then that's the second part of leadership. You got to push through that so that, because when you get over there, it's worth it. Right. And everybody wants to be on a winning team, but there's this time when they don't necessarily, not everybody's believing in the cookie recipe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Between here and there. So for you and for like others, what do you feel like is the biggest obstacle between here and there? Like what is it that gets in the way of us surviving that course?
I think if I had to pick one, I would say limited beliefs. I think you just get caught up. Like right now, I have the most I've ever had on my plate at any one time ever, at least that I can remember. So those of you who don't know, this podcast is kind of for crazies. Lots of people will listen to it once, but only the crazies will listen to it twice, 3 times, because it's one of those ones where I'm not. This podcast isn't about like hanging out and holding hands and skipping. It's about, genuinely understanding that you're called to the greatest version of yourself. And every day you have an opportunity to build upon yesterday. So the grind never stops. It is in its purest form. It's for crazies. It's for people who genuinely want to leave it all on the field. And where they've ran their race and they're laying in their casket and there's a bunch of people surrounded by them. Those people say things like, this man was above reproach. He worked his butt off and he cared about everybody around him, that he managed to, always chart a new course, but he took everybody with him. There's something about the journey that we're trying to talk about here on the Cadre Concept, that it starts inward, starts right here in your heart and your mind.
Yeah.
And, it's 2 quadrants. There's the head and the heart, like what you believe and, where those are connected. And then there's the hands and the habits. What you believe and what you are, does it show up in your daily disciplines and your habits? And, because people see, they see that's what they retain, what they hear, they're only going to validate it if the actions follow it. So there's these two quadrants inside of the leadership world where your hands and your habits and your head and your heart have to mirror each other. You know, if I tell my kids, don't smoke, it's bad for you. You tell I'm a really good smoker. I smoke kind of like the movies.
Yeah, that was classic. That's vintage. That's hilarious.
But so here's kind of the things that I've been wrestling with. So what I do with these podcasts is I'm going to just tell you all the truth. And you may already know this because you will listen to them and they're not organized. But my brain is crazy, so I just kind of stick with 2 or 3 things that I'm wrestling with in my head that I'm praying about and working out and wrestle on. And this morning is a Tuesday. And every Tuesday, I get the opportunity to take my kids to school. It's my once a week. I wake up, I make them breakfast, I hang out with them, and then I have the be great conversation. And my son wants to be on our podcast, so one day we'll loop him in.
Nice.
My be great conversation is I give them a word of the day or a thought of the day, and I talk about how they can be the best version of themselves today in that space. And today was gratitude. So this is how I think you navigate the world when you've done your best and your best is good enough. Is you got to be grateful for all the pieces of the day, you know, all the wins and the losses. The losses are lessons and you got to put in your tool bag. The wins are affirmations that you're going in the right direction. So it kind of starts to, gratitude is the key to taking on too much.
Yeah.
It's the key.
Yeah, totally.
Or to taking on a lot, should I say.
So I feel like if I think there are 2 parts of this conversation similar to the 2 parts that you shared, right? Part of this is mindset. Like I think when we ask the question, how do we get it all done? Especially when you have big vision, part of it is how you show up in your mind internally, how you lead yourself. And then I think that's where a lot of us will go to work, because I think it's the easiest one to engage. That conversation is the easiest one to engage in, I think. But then there's, I think, the outward stuff, which is like, and I don't know, this is what I'm interested in your perspective, but I feel like we start getting into others. Like in order for you to really do it all, you're going to have to surround yourself with others, because you can't, if you have big vision, by definition, it's bigger than you. Like you cannot do it all. And I'm wondering how much of that plays a role, like your team and the people that are attached to it. So
I'm not creating this for the first time. I'm just giving it a different perspective, but I was in this coaching system for a long time. And one of the things that he had 3 basic areas that overarched everything. And the first one is prospecting, generating momentum, and doing it intentionally, having a process for doing it. The Cadre Concept, and it has its full process on how to generate and grow your business, grow any business. You do our activities in harmony and you will have more business than you can handle, guaranteed. I've just seen it forever. In fact, guaranteed I'd give you your money back if it didn't work. And then the second part is you got to build a team to cater to the clients. You got to build a team that supports the process, supports the people, the promises you're making. Somebody has to be keeping them, and it can't just be you. There's only so much you to go around. So that's where your leadership comes in. You have to be able to lead people, and those people have to be led. In fact, just this morning I was given one of my contractors. So I buy houses, fix them up, and sell them. And right now I have 4 of those going, and then I have a bunch of other stuff going on. I'm buying land and ripping off crappy old homes and putting new ones on, manufactured homes. So I have 7 of those, and then I have 4 flips going at the same time. And then of course I got 3 or 4 that I'm trying to buy. So I got 2 crews, one crew doing all the house stuff and one crew doing all the land stuff. Today, I have a full crew crushing a trailer, and then they're going to pick up everything and go to another place and crush another trailer, and then they're going to pick up another one and go another one. So this week we're going to crush 3 houses. So it's not as easy as it sounds. You have to get permits and asbestos abatements and all kinds of stuff. And then you want to save all the scrap materials, and it's a process. It takes about 6 or 7 different entities working together to make it all go smoothly.
Yeah, right.
So I have a team that runs that, and then I have a team that runs the houses. Well, one of them called me today, and he's like, I'm so frustrated with one of our workers. He's not doing what he's supposed to do. And I gave him this 3-part formula for leadership: clear, firm, and respectful. People don't actually need you to be nice. People don't actually need you to love them or care about them and all that stuff. Not in lieu of these 3 things. They need you to be clear of vision and clear of being able to communicate the vision. They need you to be firm in the fact that you have a plan and you're willing to stay the course, and you have resolution with the course. They need to hook onto your resolution if they're going to follow you, right? And then respectful means you need to consider them, yourself, and everybody else around you in the process. Both with your words and your actions, showing up when you say you're going to show up, doing what you say you're going to do, and then expecting the same from them. It's kind of the lead from example type of piece.
Yeah.
So that's the second part, is building a team to cater to, the mission that you're on, whether or not you're growing your church, or, starting a new coffee company, or, building houses for the first time, or starting your plumbing company, or, financial advisor, whatever your sales modality is. If you're selling insurance, whatever, at some point you got to build a team. Otherwise you have a ceiling. You can only go so far.
Yeah. Right.
Then the last one is you got to run your business. You got to count the money. You got to pay the tax man. You got to organize stuff. You got to get your W-9 signed. You got to have your filing mechanism, your accountant, your bookkeeper, your asset protection process. And we can talk about some of these higher level things at some point, but those are the three components of leadership inside of your day. When you have too much going on, you need to break down those three areas and get better at each.
So I love that, by the way. I love it because it's clear, but it's simple. Like it's not, you have to go to business school for 4 years to learn that. Like that's really simple, and there's a lot of wisdom in that. Here's what I want to know. If I pull back the curtain on Shane McGrath for a minute, like out of those three right now, since you've got so much going on, which one feels the loosest for you right now?
I think I've heard this phrase, or my pastor says it all the time, and I've learned to say it, but I think it's one of those lessons that you learn over time, that it gets just more and more wise. But he always says you can have control or you can have growth. So right now, as we sit, I have literally more going on than I've ever had. I have more things happening on my behalf than I ever have. I have more employees and team members than I've ever had. I have more overhead than I've ever had. I have more opportunity for risk and failure, I guess, than I've ever had. So at some point, like right now, I have this moment where I could either let my wheels get wobbly and I can start, messing up the process, or I can trust the process and believe in my leadership and believe in others. And this is when the moment starts, when you have to allow for people to fail. To
in your team,
yourself.
people in your team.
Yeah.
Fail.
People aren't going to hit deadlines. People, like I had a guy the other day, I told him to take the countertops off this big bathroom vanity. And he thought that meant cut the counter in half to get the countertop off.
Oh no.
So it cost me $1,000 to buy new vanities. It's not my plan. I don't like that. I mean, that's not what the plan was. That's not what we walked through, but that's what happened. I don't think he did it, to be neglectful of me or to mess up, but I had to be clear, firm, and respectful with him that he did it wrong, but also understanding that 80% of the time, if they can do it 80% of the time as good as me, I have to let go because that's the only way I can spend 100% of the time doing what I'm good at. So if you're writing things down, I'd write that down. If you want to learn how to let go and grow and get things to work bigger than you have to let go, and you have to have a belief that they can handle it 80% as good as you. So don't let go too early. Yeah. But don't let go too late. Right now, I know I'm in good hands. I've surrounded myself with good people. I've dated them correctly. I took them out to breakfast 10, 15 times before I brought them on my team. I watched them when they weren't being interviewed. I paid attention. So I know I'm doing the right thing. But right now I'm flipping a bunch of houses. I just bought an insurance company. I just hired three staff members. So I'm in training mode, which is obviously never fun because it just costs you a ton of money and time and effort. And then you're not actually getting anything back.
Right.
So that's tough. And I don't want it to yet.
Right.
So I'm trying to hold it back. Because I want it to be something that a lot of people want to. And that's humbling. It's heavy. I don't want to say, Chris, you said, Shane, coach me. I want to make sure that I have the tools in my tool bag to help you get there. Right. I don't want to, take your money before I feel like I can earn it.
Yeah. Wow, man.
Am I all over the place, Chris?
No, I think like you'll listen back to it and you'll be like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, there's a total story arc here. I feel like, and by the way, that might be commentary on just how it feels in your head. Like maybe it feels all over the place over here listening to it. Like it's clear for me. It's clear for me.
Thank you. That helps. Maybe there's some clarity in there. I just need to say the question. What I've found, Chris, to be honest with you, how I feel today is I feel underqualified and set up for failure because I can't get it all done. All 7 Fs. Like I got a massage today at 1:00. because my back is sore. I moved furniture all weekend because someone had to do it. So my back is genuinely sore. I need a massage, but I want to forgo my health so that I could go make another dollar. You know, I want to forgo things that I commit to. Like this morning, taking my kids to school, I wanted to ask my wife to take them to school instead of me so I can go to work early. But I can't forgo the building blocks of my life. I have to do it all. So I have to take my mind and I have to have a get to philosophy where, are you kidding me? When I'm 30 or 40, you know, years into when my kids are my age and I'm an old man, I want them to tell their grandkids, my dad took me to school every single week, once a week, and he made breakfast, and that's why I do that to you. I want that to be my story. So in order for it to be my story, what do I have to do every single Tuesday?
Get up and take your kids to school.
I have to do it. So I there's these certain things that are critical that and that's where my fear, or that's where my limiting beliefs come in, is that there's so many components to my day to get done that I don't have the ability to not be intentional with every moment. And that's when I think you start to hit the growth track. If you're wondering what you're supposed to be doing right now, you're not living called. You know, your mission is not big enough.
What's your hack on that with the you wake up and you're like, man, I just want to ask my wife to take the kids, or like you don't want, you know, I want to forego the massage because I want to get back to work. Like there's something I'm sure that you do, just like professional athletes, right? I'll have there's a thing to reset, right? To get back in a frame of mind. What's your hack to get back in the frame of mind?
Well, to me, it's, remember I talked about the two quadrants, the head and the heart.
Yeah.
Those are your convictions that have to be strong enough to dictate the hands and the habits. So that I remind myself of the conviction and I try to look ahead and say, what am I tomorrow? You know, what have I accomplished? Because you are the sum of your daily disciplines, right?
Yeah.
So like I have a friend named Joe Gates. Shout out to my buddy Joe. I love him to death. He literally is the epitome of what I would like to be when it comes to health and just taking care of my body. He is always with some part of his mind working on his body and working on his mindset. He'll be reading a book on how to run faster, and he'll be literally telling me how he's trying to figure out how to get his feet to strike the ground different so that he can focus on elasticity and duration. And he reads books on why run for 2 hours. You know, he'd rather run faster because he can get done quicker. So he's pushing himself to go faster. So he's doing sprints. And and this is all for his own, no one's telling him to get up in the morning and do it. He's committed to the process. He's doing Tough Mudders. He's doing, he's built contraptions in his backyard to work out in his garage. And he's got his kids going and running around the track with him. And he's made it part of his DNA to the point where it's a 9 or a 10. Now I guess there could be things that could be put aside, but he intends to have a good body vitality for the rest of his life. And his convictions here are showing up in his daily disciplines. So I think when he gets up and he's tired and he's lonely, or he's got a lot on his plate, or the work, like I knew he's flying out yesterday to go to another place to do some training for some of the people bringing on to his agency. He's a big financial advisor. I bet you still worked out. So I think that the trick, to answer your question, I think your convictions over here, your clarity of purpose, has to be strong enough to dictate your actions and activities, your disciplines. So I think my trigger is that I build so my trick is, and a lot of people think I'm crazy when I tell them, but I try to have certain things that I win for sure. Like in the mornings, I'm very, very committed to a morning routine. And I found that my morning routine isn't so much what I do, it's what I think about. And it's the amount of time I spend in my own introspective nature, thinking, reflecting, praying about, pondering, affirmations. One of the things I do in the morning that's really cheesy that people make fun of me for is I try to make sure I'm madly in love with my wife. I try to see how beautiful she is when she's sleeping when I leave, or beautiful she is when she's coming out of the shower, or beautiful she is when she's doing her hair, or beautiful she is when she's making breakfast for my kids, or beautiful she is when she's walking the dog in the morning. Like she just has these things that she does that I just get to receive and appreciate. And I would tell you, because I have an abundance mindset for that, I'm oftentimes very much in love, and it starts with here and then it works into here. So I have these little convictions I do that I try to have 3 or 4 convictions in each of my areas. Does that?
Yeah. I hear
do I always get them right? No, but I don't go too many days without getting them right. I get back on
Yeah.
back on the track.
I hear that too. Like when you describe your kids and thinking about the legacy of that, saying, they take their kids to school because you took them to school, like the conviction, that's a conviction. It's a vision. And then attached to that vision is a conviction that if you get off, you can orient or anchor yourself back to this is what it's about, versus if you didn't have that vision and that the conviction attached to it, it just occurs like a good idea until it isn't. You're like, oh, I'm just too busy today, so I won't do it. But there's no ramification or impact if you skip it.
Right.
You don't have the vision and conviction. So that's what I'm hearing from what you're saying.
I have a good example. My son, he's on a soccer team that's a really competitive soccer team, and he basically plays all year round. And his team lost the second game that they needed to win Sunday in order to advance in the state cup. And they won that state cup last year, so they have some high expectations in themselves. And they haven't had a year that came together. They just were slightly off all year and just couldn't quite put together the wins. Like they great games just didn't quite come out on the right side of them.
Right.
And he comes off the field and he's just super frustrated. And I say, "You did awesome. That was one of your best games." And he says to me, "Yeah, but we lost." And I was trying to explain to him that you didn't lose if you did your best. Because, if this was the only game you're going to play and you were going to die tomorrow type of thing, like if this was it, then I could see you trying to put too much magnitude on it per se. But if you did your very, very best and your team didn't win, what could you change in that? What impact, what could you do personally more?
Yeah.
You really can't. You can only do your part, but it takes 11 other people to do their part too.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of a really good symbolic piece of life. If I do my best today, this podcast says I've done my best and my best is good enough. I have a sticker above my light switch that says I've done my best and my best was good enough. And my mindset behind that is I try to set myself up in the day to do the best I can in each space that I'm in, being clear, firm, respectful with my leadership, having vision and respect for other people, not letting my fear, my pride, put bookends on me, allowing it to, have as much potential on either side of the spectrum as I can without making it inwardly about me through fear or inwardly about me through self-preservation and pride and arrows in. If I do that all day long and then I flip my switch at the end of the day and I say, I've done my best. I don't feel like I got the list done. Maybe even my team lost today, but I did my best today. That's the best I can do. Because, in fact, here's a thing that I say a lot, and I learned it from a dad on the side of a soccer field, and I'm sure he read it somewhere. But he said the attitude and effort is the only thing he can expect of his son, because it's the only thing his son has control of on the field. He can't control the wins or the loss, the goals or the lack of goals, but he can control his attitude. And so, what is attitude?
We're back to the mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you choose to be, what attitude? Do you playing with are you pulling a truck around with you because you got a bad attitude?
Yeah.
You could see that on the field. And then effort, what does effort look like? Are you playing to the whistle? Are you only working hard when the lights shine on you? Or are you moving without the ball? There's a lot of, so attitude and effort is one of the best ways for me to gauge I did my best. My best was good enough.
I feel like that maps to the inner outer game you already spoke of, right? Like attitudes, inner game, efforts, outer game. Like, I love that, man. I love like, there's something about wisdom where it's like, it can be said a lot of different ways. If you distill it down, wisdom kind of starts to look the same. Like there are these components where you're like, yeah, that's got the fingerprint of wisdom. Like I can just see it because it's, it has its own fingerprint. So
maybe a closing thing for other people could be me just kind of cheerleading you on. If you're listening to this podcast, my vision is that millions of people listen to this, but not because I'm special, but because they can connect to the journey because they're on their own journey. And it's just a way to come in, grab a nugget or two, apply it to your day. And then, I hope that you can communicate to us on, the social media thread or whatever, and share your story with me and help me be better. And if you have wisdom on some area that I'm working on, like, wouldn't it be cool if we had this global network of people of wisdom who are speaking from lessons that they've learned and sharing their pain and their stories, and we all get to lean in and help each other. That's what I envision with the Cadre Concept. I dreamt up one day, I was in my car, I was pulling up my driveway, and I was kind of really deep in my thought. You know, sometimes when you're driving, have you ever just turned everything off and just like make yourself take one topic and wrestle with it as long as you can? Well, I think you can do anything for a short period of time. So if I'm driving for 30 minutes and I put one thing on my docket and then I try to stay on that the whole trip, I can come up with a lot of depth. You know, I go layers in why, and I get down to the core of why I'm doing a thing or what I can do with it. So I had done that, and I got to my driveway and my parking lot, and I couldn't get out of my car because I wasn't done. And one of the things that I was praying about, and I was looking, and this maybe sound totally cheesy to you guys, but I was picturing my story being like a wavelength, and it was just making its way through the crowd like a cell phone tower. You know, there's this, you know, my 5G, you know, network. And then people come around and they come into my network and they get to see my wave, and they can say, hey, I want to get on that sucker, and I want to share my story. I want to get on that same wavelength. And then what would happen from a movement standpoint if enough people got on a wavelength and that wavelength was pointing to something greater than themselves? And I started thinking, like, what if I was a starter of a wave? What if God put gifts inside of me? What if I have inside of my core the humility to accept the responsibility of putting myself out there, of, you know, telling my story, sloppy and messy as it is, and having other people go, you know what, I kind of want to go on that journey too. And what if we all did it in a collaborative way where it made us better personally and professionally? And, you know, what if all the 7Fs were getting better? What if when I dated my wife and was vulnerable enough to share my shortcomings in doing so, it encouraged Chris Angel to go date his wife and his marriage got better? I think that would be kind of a cool, your company's called Groundswell. I love that word, by the way. I want to integrate it into my DNA because I just love the idea of a groundswell. It's a rock splashes into a pond and it echoes and echoes and echoes and echoes. And you don't know what echo that is, and you don't have control of the echo. You only have control of the splash. You can throw the rock, and you can have your best attitude and effort, and it's got to make it splash and the ripple. So if I was to align with anybody listening, I would say this, like, don't just do this life, invest into it, have a plan and a hypothesis, and then test your plan and then make improvements on it as you go, and recognize that the story is not ever finished. There's always a ... at the end of every day. So when you do your very best today, you wrote a chapter of your book or a page of your book or a sentence or a paragraph of your book, and it's not written yet. There's still a hero to emerge. And there's still some more downs to experience in the hero. Like Tiger Woods, oh my gosh.
It's so good.
I almost started crying, and I don't even care about golf. Like, I've been watching him my whole life, and I've seen him purposely screw up his life with a DUI and cheating on his wife and, you know, making mistakes and going through 5 or 6 back surgeries, and seeing his perseverance. I got goosebumps just thinking about it. Like, our story is amazing. Everybody has forgotten about the last 11 years when he kind of sucked.
Right.
And now he's one of the greatest of all time again. And what was the deciding factor? Perseverance. Perseverance leads to character, and character leads to hope.
Just like let the quiet.
I'm telling you,
this is good, man. That's a perfect place to wrap, dude. That's so good. All right. Listen, Shane, here's what happens on the end of people listening to stuff like this, right? Like we get inspired by what's possible. And I know that a lot of times what we want is, and what we often will do in the past is we'll get inspired and we'll go try to do it ourselves. But I think what is beautiful about the Cadre concept is that, you know, what's that, the old proverb, like, you know, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others, right?
That's good. I've never heard of that.
It's not in the Bible, but it's an African proverb, right? You want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. And I feel like, you know, getting inspired by a message like this just reactivates the vision you have and really how far you want to go. And if you're going to go that far, you got to go with others. And I think what you're setting up through the Cadre concept is the tools and the environment to really nurture that groundswell that you had the vision for in your driveway. So if people listening to this are like, okay, I'm ready to go the distance, right? I'm ready to go far. And I want to learn more from you about how to do that. How do people connect with the Cadre concept?
So obviously you can call me. I have to look at my phone number. It's 206-486-0604. You can call, and we will help you. I don't know how, but we're learning. But right now, one thing that I'm super proud of us for building, and I think it's a great start to everything, is our test.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. Have you taken it yet, Chris?
I haven't, no.
Well, I think you got to take it. I mean,
Okay,
I really believe in it. So what we did is we took the 7 areas of your life, the 7 F's, and we called it the Abundant Life Test. Mm-hmm. And you take the test and they're yes or no questions. And the whole concept is here's 10 questions associated to this area that we believe should be yeses. Mm-hmm. If they're not a yes 80% of the time, then they're a no. And if they're a no, it's a clear path of something you could do to make it a yes. And then you can get 10s in all these areas. And then we think of it as a will. And if all of them are 10s, you're a round, balanced wheel, and you're spinning at your maximum speed until one of them is not there. And then you go do the work and you stick, your goal is to keep your wheel round, right? All of us want abundance and a path of least resistance if we will. But the idea behind it is this test. So if you go to cadreconcept.com and you take that test, it's free. And it's not going to be free forever. I am going to start charging for it at some point. But right now it's free. And then take the test. We're working with a website designer to see if we can get it to where you can take the test and then it could give you a cool roadmap of figuring things out and what to implement and how to change and everything. But we haven't gotten there. But right now it'll give you your score and it'll tell you, and it'll give you a reflection of all your test scores. So you can go start picking things off the list and getting them done. Yeah. I don't know why. There's no money to be made for me on this, but this test, in my opinion, it's truly, you'll learn some stuff about yourself.
I love it. It's a perfect place to start. I think when people need to assess where they are in order to create a plan. You've talked about a plan multiple times, and I think you got to figure out where you are in order to create the plan. So
it'll affirm where you're at, and it'll also tell you what you need to do.
Perfect. CadreConcept.com. Yeah. Awesome. Shane, good stuff today, man. Thanks for sharing as always. And until next time. Peace.
Party on.